presents the Big Three Playoffs. This Sunday, the remaining 4 teams battle to make the championship in the most physical, fierce, and competitive basketball league in the world. The action starts with the Big Three Monster Energy Celebrity Game. Then Dwight Howard and his L.A. Riot take on Montrezl Harrell and Dr. J Chicago Triplets. The finale will see popular Miami 305 with stars MVP Michael Beasley and Lance Stevenson take on Nancy Lieberman's Dallas Power. Who will make it to the Big Three Championship? The no-holds-barred action starts Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific, only on CBS.
Lady with Mo Kelly on KFI AM 640.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, and I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one who's gone to a grocery store, maybe to get a bottle of wine or a fifth of Jack Daniels or both. There's no judgment here. And then you don't want to stand in that long-ass line where there are about 20 people because the grocery store will only have one checkout line open, and you think, well, why don't I just go ahead and mosey over to the self-checkout portion? And then you find out either it's closed, which is weird. It's not like they need to have that open. I mean, they have to have that closed at any time. Or there's this one person who's just standing there trying to make sure you don't use it to buy alcohol. That can't be only happening to me. Well, now grocers are saying that they want to open up those self-checkout lines to people like me and probably Mark Ronner.
This comes as the United Food and Commercial Workers Union and some Democratic state lawmakers are pushing a bill that's trying to prevent stores from having self-checkout kiosks. If they don't meet staffing, signage, and item limit, grocers argue that these regulations will add to the bottom line, leading to higher grocery prices, and suggest that allowing alcohol sales at the kiosk may be the solution.
Yes, allow alcohol sales at the kiosk. I don't go to liquor stores anymore. It's like going to 7-Eleven. There's a higher propensity of getting shot there than at a grocery store. So if I'm going to buy alcohol, in the rare occasions that I do, I would like to be able to do it expeditiously without having to wait in that long line. Allow me to go to the self-checkout and buy my Jack Daniels in peace.
You believe in freedom. That much is clear.
I believe in freedom, and I believe in being quick about it. I don't want to spend a lot of time in line.
It's like that at Costco, too. I don't know if you've noticed that, but if you've got booze, you cannot do the self-checkout.
I don't go to Costco enough, and when I do, it's always with my wife, and we never do the self-checkout thing. Like when we're buying food for the 4th of July for Chateau Le Mot. Oh, that's right. You didn't go.
Oh, that.
But when we did go, I was buying all the alcohol and you put it on the cart with everything else. So it was never even a consideration of going to self-checkout because we had too much damn food.
Talk about being judgment-free, though. When you do go through the checkout at Costco with a bunch of booze, and this is just theoretical for me. I never touch this stuff. The checkers are not the least bit judgmental. You could have a whole cart full of booze and they're like, okay, must be having a party.
Yeah, well, it depends. And I noticed this relative to the age of the checkout person. The younger checkout person will say, oh, we'll verbalize that. Oh, it looks like you're having a party. And I want to say, mind your own freaking business and just keep on scanning my stuff, please.
Yeah, focus on the diapers of the person behind me, okay?
Right. And it was a kind of like an understood agreement where you don't comment on what people are buying, especially not out loud, okay?
Yeah, when I was in high school for a few months, I worked at a grocery store, and I made sure. It was before people knew a lot about FBI profiling, and I did that to everybody who came through the line.
I think about the stuff and I'm not going to talk about specifically, the stuff that I was not real fond of buying in a store because everyone was going to see that I was buying it. Okay? And this was before they had Amazon. Okay, now you can buy whatever you want and you don't have to worry about the judgment of everyone around you looking at you.
Are you talking specifically about like a large tube of Preparation H? What do you got?
That and some other things.
Okay.
We're not going to get too specific here, okay? Because it defeats the purpose otherwise. I mean, what's the point if I'm embarrassed about going through a checkout line? The last thing I'm going to do is tell everyone.
Talk about it on the radio.
California.
Yeah,
right. That doesn't exactly make sense. It's like, yes, I'm not going to talk about getting the cream to get rid of the crabs, okay? I'm not going to talk about it.
Well, I'm not going to ask you about your horrible case of crabs either.
But the point is, I'd never understood the rationale behind not allowing people to buy alcohol at self-checkout. There's always, when the self-checkout is open, invariably there's one person who's supposed to be there to help you, right? If you have a problem trying to find a code for produce or something, or something's not scanning correctly, or it's not accepting your payment, there's usually a person there, an employee, to assist you. Why is that person then not able to verify your ID?
Well, there's probably legal Department of Booze or whatever the hell it's called reasons, but now we know how much people cheat even when it comes to weighing their own bulk foods. So you think people can be trusted with booze? You can't trust people with anything.
I've never cheated on self-checkout.
They're animals.
I have never cheated.
You are like the one honest man when it comes to this.
I've never cheated on self-checkout.
I usually go to Ralph's, and at the self-checkout, they have another little, like, cash register that they stand by the most of the time. Mm-hmm. And I just go straight to that, give them my ID, and I'm like, I want this. Thanks. And they check my ID, they give me my alcohol, and I leave.
They don't do that for me, and they don't do that in the hood. Most of the liquor's locked up anyhow, so you have to find a person who is going to either unlock the liquor cabinet so you can pull it out, or depending on the Ralph's, it's usually in a corner of the store where only the cashier has the key, and the cashier has to leave the checkout line to go to the liquor cabinet to get whatever you're asking for, and then bring it back, and then they'll ring it up.
Yeah, they got to call an armed escort from the manager's office, and it's a whole deal.
No, seriously, it is a whole deal, because depending on the store, the Ralph's by me, you have to get someone to go to the liquor cabinet, open it up, and if you're at the liquor cabinet, which is in the store on like one of the aisles, as opposed to behind the registers, they have to walk it up to the register for you. They will not put it in your hand.
Yeah,
like
that's
Walmart. Like
there
Walmart,
you go.
got to press the button, and you might as well go to the DMV.
And you might as well have everybody else behind you in line just openly declare a fatwa on you for making them wait.
Well, what I do is when you have to go to the liquor cabinet, if I see someone else push the button, I just jump in line right there at the liquor cabinet, because like they're only going to come by once every 15, 20 minutes.
So you're lying in wait.
I have to wait because if I don't get it right then, they'll have to call them back later. They may not be as eager to come back.
I like how you planned this all out, but we're going to get more freedom, though? Is that the upshot of all this?
Well, that is the hope. That's the desire. That's the intent. But I don't know if it's actually going to happen.
This comes as the United Food and Commercial Workers Union and some Democratic state lawmakers are pushing a bill that's trying to prevent stores from having self-checkout kiosks. If they don't meet staffing, signage, and item limit, grocers argue that these regulations will add to the bottom line.
It will.
Leading to higher grocery prices.
It will.
And suggest that allowing alcohol sales at the kiosk may be the solution. Yeah, often.
I don't know if those ideas actually connect, but I'm all for the idea of allowing alcohol sales at self-checkout.
Man, grocery prices are already higher. Have you been to a store lately? Everything's like 20% higher.
It's almost like they're tariffs or something impacting them.
You said it. I didn't.
KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app and on YouTube. When we come back, did you hear about actor Alan Tudyk, who was a guest on this show, who was saying that he was cut out of all the promotion for iRobot because his performance, my word, upstaged Will Smith? I want to go back and hear what he had to say about that in just a moment.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI, it's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and the iHeartRadio app. And Mark Ronner and I, we disagree on the movie iRobot. I happen to think it's a classic movie. I think it's one of the better movies about AI, robots, and the future than most.
Wow, I'm just glad Isaac Asimov was dead by the time it came out, because it was just an abomination.
I said we disagree. You know, I happen to like it. Now, put it this way. I didn't read the book. I've read his other books. I didn't read this book, so I wasn't looking at it through that lens. I was just viewing it as a movie. I was unencumbered by any source material. I liked the performance of Alan Tudyk as Sonny, the robot. I liked Will Smith's performance. It was fine for what it was. And if you don't remember the movie, here's a clip from iRobot.
My father tried to teach me human emotions. They are difficult.
You mean you're a designer?
Yes.
So why'd you murder him?
I did not murder Dr. Lanning.
Want to explain why you were hiding at the crime scene?
I was frightened.
Robots don't feel fear. They don't feel anything. They don't get hungry. They don't sleep.
I do. I have even had dreams.
Human beings have dreams. Even dogs have dreams, but not you. You are just a machine. An imitation of life. Can a robot write a symphony? Can a robot turn a canvas into a beautiful masterpiece?
Can you?
Alan Tudyk, the actor opposite Will Smith, he performed in motion capture, and there was CGI overlay for his performance, but he is actually physically in the scene with Will Smith. He is the most prominent character in the movie with Will Smith. If you remember, it was almost a trivia question as far as who was playing Sonny, because Alan Tudyk was not mentioned anywhere in the promotion. That much I do remember, because I remember seeing the movie. It's like I realized I know that voice, but it wasn't publicized.
He's terrific. Have you seen Resident Alien?
We had him on the show when it first came on.
Well, how about that? Okay.
So yes.
Well, you put me in my place.
He is kind of brilliant. Not saying nothing of what he did with Rogue One.
And Firefly, Serenity.
Yeah,
he's terrific in all that stuff. I've never seen him in a bad thing.
And also his live action work in Dodgeball. He played the pirate.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Anyhow, he was on a podcast and they were asking him about his career, and the subject of iRobot came up. This is what Alan Tudyk had to say.
You mentioned iRobot. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people didn't know I did Sonny the robot on iRobot, and there's a reason for that. Actually, because they were doing test audiences with the movie, and they score the characters in this kind of test audience. And I got word back, Alan, you're testing higher than
Will Smith. Nice. It's about to slap you.
And then I was gone. I was done. There was no publicity, and my name was not mentioned. They wanted to.
That's what you get.
Yeah. And I was so shocked. I was like, but wait, how do they? But nobody's going to know that I. And they're like, And
that's sad. That was such a good performance.
Shut up and let him tell the story.
It was, yeah. I put a lot into it because he had to move like a robot, so I had to move. It was very, it was whatever it was at the time. I was very upset.
I would be upset too. And thinking back, it does make sense because you didn't know anything about Alan Tudyk, and he was arguably the top co-star in the movie. Of course, it was Will Smith's movie, of course, but he was the number 2 person. Wasn't Shad McBride? It was Alan Tudyk.
You can't go upstaging Will Smith. I think we all know what could happen.
And they were alluding to that in the conversation. I don't know how sensitive Will would have been. We don't know if he was told that information. I'm thinking like it would have only helped the marketing of the movie, because usually when they have at least 2 strong characters, regardless of the stardom of the actors, they're usually doing all the media together. Like if you see them on Entertainment Tonight or whatever, they're usually sitting in those 2 chairs and talking to the host at the same time. But I guess that was not in the cards for this. What did you think of the movie, though, Tuwala? To break the tie between me and Mark.
It's not a tie.
Yes, it is.
I read the book first. My mother has the collection. I read the book because I heard it was coming. I was curious, and I love the book. The book is phenomenal. It's a very, very good book. When I saw this movie, my first thought was, I don't know why you call this iRobot. That was my first thought, because it is such a it's not a huge departure, but it's almost like it's based on ideas taken inspired by. Yeah, it's more like that. But as a movie and as a Will Smith movie, just a sci-fi film, I didn't mind it. Like if I had no foreknowledge of it being based on this book and I had not read the book, I probably would have liked it a lot more. But it was like one of those, like, the entire time you're watching it, you're like, no, man, no. Unfortunately, it did become a vehicle for Will Smith, almost like how Creed became just a vehicle or Creed 2 became a vehicle for Michael B. Jordan, where you're like, yeah, but this is supposed to be about continuing the legacy of Rocky and your father, or Apollo Creed, not you doing away with all that. But I will say I did like the movie. I'm not mad at the movie.
I actually wanted a sequel. If there was a Will Smith quote unquote movie I wanted a sequel to, I wanted to revisit the world. I wanted to see what was the world that Sonny the Robot built for his robot kind.
I think if they were thinking about this correctly, if they went into this film and looked at the totality of the story that Asimov were telling, they could have booked this as a multi-picture deal. And if you would have told chapters or like part one, part two, thing? If you would have done that and really fleshed out the story, they could have really done something. But trying to put all that story into one incomplete film, that's rough.
I got some good news for both of you. If you want to see a sequel to a classic that Will Smith has desecrated, I think we're going to get one for I Am Legend.
He is.
Yeah.
No, he is, because, and it's based off of an alternate ending, which shows that Will Smith's character lives. The question at hand is, who is Michael B. Jordan playing? What is his character? What is his connection to Will Smith? Is this some son that he may have had? The son that, that went off with the wife that he never got to see? I mean, who is this character?
Again, just glad poor Richard Matheson, the author, is long dead and doesn't have to suffer this indignity.
I saw the alternate ending of I Am Legend. It's available on YouTube. You can find it. And I wish they would have gone with that ending in the first place. But what I saw in theaters was the original ending, and obviously it kills Robert Neville, his character. So there's really no more story to tell. I don't know how they're going to rewire this to have Robert Neville be alive and bring in Michael B. Jordan. But I'll still see.
He survives the blast and is safe.
Do you think they even understood the book? No. I Am Legend or iRobot?
No, they made something for the movie screen, and I Am Legend severely disappointed me because I knew it could have been so much better.
Awful. Yeah. But, hey, we agree.
KFI AM 640. Let's see if we'll agree on Alien Earth. The first 2 episodes dropped yesterday. I saw them, and I saw them with great reservations. I was thinking that this is probably going to be horrible. I'll tell you what, it's probably the best Alien franchise material. When I say material, book, movie, TV show of the past 25, 30 years. No exaggeration.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI, Later with Mo Kelly. We're live on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and the iHeartRadio app. And I was racing home last night because I was actually interested in watching the new FX and Hulu show, Alien Earth, before I heard too much from other people. I'm a huge Alien fan. I remember when my dad took me to see Alien in movie theater. And I'm thinking now, as a 55-year-old man, that's not a good idea. It came out in 1979. I was 10 years old. I was way too young to see it in the theater. Way too young. Because the original poster and slogan for the movie is, "In space, nobody can hear you scream." It was the first horror movie set in space. It's a straight-up horror movie. And it was scary then, and I rewatched it. What is today? Wednesday. Tuesday, and they were showing all the different Alien movies on FX as a lead up to the debut of Alien Earth. They've been really producing it and really promoting it. I was ambivalent. I was like, okay, because the last things Alien I saw, Alien Romulus, I didn't hate. I liked it for what it was. It had a lot of hokey callbacks and everything, but it was better than a lot of the other Alien stuff which would come out, like Prometheus and the sequel to Prometheus and the Son of Prometheus. And it's almost like they were all over the place and they could not tell a coherent story where everything fell upon a singular timeline. They had the movie Alien versus Predator. You know, it was garbage. It was garbage. So I was looking to get back to the original feel of the Ridley Scott first movie, Alien. Alien Earth feels a lot like it. In fact, I saw a quote. Ridley Scott had saw the original episodes of Alien Earth, and in it, and I don't want to be too specific, but there are scenes which are directly comparable to the original Alien as far as camera shot. There's a spaceship which is from the same timeline as the Nostromo, and the insides look just like the Nostromo. And Ridley Scott said something to the effect of, "That's my effing ship." In other words, it was a congratulations of how well they matched the feel and look of the original Alien.
Wow.
In the way that you look at a Star Wars movie, which was done in 1977 versus a Star Wars universe movie, which is done in the 2000s, they use the familiar scrawl. The fonts are all the same. So it feels like it's all one franchise moving forward. This is what Alien Earth is. They use the same, I'll say, text, if you will. If you know the mother, you know, when they interface with the computer, it's that bright green text. They go back to all of that. The sound effects are similar. The stages are very similar. Why? I'm not going to say. You got to see it. But it lets you know that it's happening around the same time as the Nostromo. Specifically, it's 2 years before Alien. And if you know the movie Alien, you know that the Nostromo receives this call from the corporation, Weyland-Yutani. And they're saying, no, don't go here. We need you to go to planet LV-426 and see what's going on over there. They do. And then John Hurt gets attacked by the face hugger, and we get to see the alien jump out of his chest. We find out later that Ash, the android, was in on it, and he knew that all the crew was expendable, and the company knew about the existence of the xenomorph, but no one else on the ship knew. Alien Earth helps answer the question how and when the Weyland-Yutani Corporation knew about the xenomorph and why they were trying to get the xenomorph and why it ended up falling on the shoulders of the Nostromo.
What? Hey, you just dropped a bomb right now. Okay.
It's direct connection.
Because that was supposed to be the promise of Romulus, that they were supposed to advance the story in somehow. And to me, they just pulled their pants down and pooed all over the film.
Yeah, it's almost like Rogue One in the sense of you take a line from Star Wars and you turn it into a whole story. That's what they've done here, because you know that the corporation knew about the xenomorph, and they told the Nostromo to go to this planet to basically find the xenomorph, but we don't know how and why the corporation knew prior to that moment. Now they're setting up, they're letting you know how Weyland-Yutani came into power, how they got to be such a dominant world force, and some of the other forces that are working against it. Oh no, it's an Easter egg hunt through and through. And Mark, you saw the first episode. What did you think?
I liked it nearly as much as you. I'm a little bit more apprehensive. I like the look that they absolutely nailed of the original. And by the way, you wanted to rub interviewing Alan Tudyk in my face. One of my favorite experiences as a journalist was watching the original Alien with Tom Skerritt in his basement and just turning the tape recorder on and letting it record us talk
Who's
while we
still
both
alive?
watch the movie. Yeah, Yeah, and he's a preposterously good-looking older man too. I hate him for that. But I love the first Alien, and to me, nothing has come close to touching it. The second one, Aliens, is great fun, but the first one is the stone cold masterpiece. And kind of like Star Wars, the franchise got by on the goodwill of the first two movies for years and years and years. And now maybe we've got something that's worthy of the first one. We'll see as they play out. You've seen two, I've seen one. I like the first one a lot.
Let me tie some things together for people who may not know or remember. The first Alien takes place in space. They're told to go to LV-426, the planet with the xenomorph. Aliens takes place on LV-426, where the company, Weyland-Yutani, has decided to set up a colony there, knowing good and well that the xenomorphs are going to get them, and they would have some hosts, and they'll be able to harvest the xenomorphs from them. This is basically telling the story in reverse, where they're setting up all these things, which you say, oh, that's going to be this. Oh, that's going to be that.
Now, I mentioned to you off air that they're shorthanding a lot of things we already know, because you're never going to get the same suspense that you got in the first one. When it
assumes that you've seen Alien.
Yeah, the chest burster, the all of it, the fully grown xenomorph. And they're pretty clever the way they're doing that. And also, this doesn't spoil anything. You know you're going to see a xenomorph going into this. The way they depict them is pretty alarming, and they're very unstoppable.
Yes, and not that they were nerfing the original, but this is the xenomorph unleashed, and you get a better sense of their intelligence and the wide variety of ways that they can kill people.
Yeah, don't bring the perfect killing machine from another planet to Earth. Not recommended. If we have to Yelp that, it's going to get low marks.
Yeah, and put it this way. They don't hold back. They don't wait to get you in the story. In the original Alien, you had to wait, I don't know, maybe a good 40, 45 minutes before you actually saw anything of the full-grown alien. That's not the case here.
No, and without spoiling anything, there's a scene where a xenomorph is trying to get at somebody, and it's really close. I was on the edge of my seat.
Right. It's cinematic quality. No exaggeration. It's cinematic quality. I would have been happy to have seen that in a theater and paid good money for it.
Now, this reminds me, and the way you're telling this and what you're saying about it reminds me of what our friend Dan Trachtenberg is doing with the Predator franchise, reimagining, re-envision, and making it more serious again and bringing it back to the core. And he hinted at Comic-Con this year that there is a path that both he and the Aliens creators are on to actually bring the franchises together in the right way. So there are things that we will see in the upcoming Badlands that starts tying these two franchises in together, where you're going to be like, oh, this is actually what we were waiting for.
I don't mind the crossover. Just don't be hokey and stupid with it.
Yeah.
Alien was never silly. The original Predator was not silly. So how we ended up with a silly crossover, I don't get it.
Well, and that's why when you see Prey, you're like, oh, no, this is not all fun. There was nothing fun about Prey. That was all just murder. And then when you see Killer of Killers, ooh.
So as soon as you get a chance, I know you're not going to watch it at night in the dark, watch it in the daytime. Highly, highly recommend. If you love the original Alien, then Alien Earth is for you.
Twala, you can FaceTime me if you get scared. I'll still be up.
KFI AM 640. I'm going to talk a little Howard Stern when we come back.
You are
live everywhere.
Terrestrial radio.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI, Mr. Mo Kelly here. Live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. And if you work in this business, talk radio that is, you are inevitably, undeniably influenced by others who've come before you. You may not directly emulate them, but you're aware of them, and you're aware of how they became so successful. It could be a Rush Limbaugh. It could be a Don Imus. It could be someone like Howard Stern. And I followed his career for many, many years, and there's probably nothing similar about what he does and what I strive to do, but you still learn from people either implicitly or explicitly. You can learn just by watching them or listening to them, how they do what they do, how they built their empire. And there's been growing speculation that SiriusXM is not going to renew his contract, and I guess you could say fire him. And let's be honest, it's not something we should overthink. Howard Stern is not the radio powerhouse today that he was 25 years ago. SiriusXM is paying Howard Stern presently $100 million per year. Per year! Per year. Does he have an equal return on that investment for SiriusXM? Maybe not. Maybe he's not pulling in the dollars and the subscribers that he once did. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's 71 years old. You know, the radio audience has changed. 25 years ago, the people who weren't even born are now a part of the radio landscape, and they're listening to podcasts. They're listening to Joe Rogan. They may be listening to Barstool Sports. You know, they could be listening to Candace Owens. They could be listening to any number of people, not just a radio shock jock like Howard Stern. When Howard Stern came along, he was pretty much unique. I mentioned like Don Imus. I would say he was the closest corollary, but Howard Stern was asking questions that people thought, well, oh my gosh, how could you ask that? He was having conversations and asking people all this personal information and sex positions, and it was unheard of at the time.
He was such a skilled interviewer that I think people got thrown by the salacious quality of the stuff that he did. He really knew how to manipulate people into giving answers that you weren't going to see anywhere else. And one of my favorite Howard Stern things, which I just saw recently again on YouTube, wasn't even on his show. It was him talking with Tom Snyder and making Snyder so angry that Snyder just ripped off his mic and walked off in the middle of the credits.
But it's one of those things where, and this is where he was a master, still is. When you do an interview with someone, your job as a host or interviewer is to develop a level of rapport where someone feels comfortable enough as a guest to forget that they're in an interview. And they're just answering questions like you're just two people having a conversation. And they're less on guard, and they will tell you things that they wouldn't necessarily tell an interviewer, as opposed to someone they're just riffing and having a conversation with. Howard Stern, masterful at that. And so he was able to get certain answers out of people that no one else could. At the same time, he was the only one who was able to do that. Now, it's kind of passé. Because in the podcast world, you can curse, you can talk about anything, you'd have long form conversations without commercials, and you have a whole generation of people who did not grow up listening to Howard Stern, who don't care about Howard Stern. It's just a generational difference. It's not necessarily that Howard Stern has lost it, but when you're paying someone $100 million per year, there are probably other options that SiriusXM is pursuing, or at least looking into.
He's going to be okay. I think he's mellowed with age. If you've listened to him recently, he's mellowed with age, and this is as people have finally kind of reverse engineered what he did and how it worked. He's always going to be the master. And with the kind of dough he's accumulated, I'm not worried about him. But I am curious if he plans to do something else or just retire quietly. His wife raises shelter cats and kittens.
And there's something else in this equation we don't know. I don't know if there's any more fire burning in Stern's belly, because after a certain point, it doesn't really change. And if there's something else he wants to do, if he wants to go into not like a late night show, but just an interview show where it's a different formulation of what he's been doing, or some pet project, then maybe he will continue on. But I don't get the sense that he has the same desire to do what he's been doing for the past 30, 35 years.
Well, he's definitely not the same guy who did those pay-per-view butt bongo bonanza things from, 20, 30 years ago. Did you see any of those?
Of course I did.
They were pretty outrageous. And like you said, the guy's 71 now. It's okay to outgrow some of that.
Yeah, and very quickly, I know we're over, but I got to say this. I remember when I was working for Ryan Seacrest, and here's the correlation. I was working for Ryan Seacrest when he took over for Rick Dees, when he took over for Casey Kasem, both legends in their own right. But that's how this business works, where after a certain point, you're aged out and you'll have someone younger who is capturing the imagination or the audience of that younger demographic. Howard Stern is not any less good now than he was 25 years ago. It's just that he's 71 now, trying to talk to the same 25 to 54-year-old audience, which is probably listening to Joe Rogan now.
Also, the show's not the same since Ronnie the limo driver left.
Well, that too. It's Later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640 live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
KFI and KOST HD2, Los Angeles, Orange County. More stimulating.
iHeart presents the Big Three Playoffs. This Sunday, the remaining 4 teams battle to make the championship in the most physical, fierce, and competitive basketball league in the world. The action starts with the Big Three Monster Energy Celebrity Game. Then Dwight Howard and his LA Riot take on Montrezl Harrell and Dr. J Chicago Triplets. The finale will see popular Miami 305 with stars MVP Michael Beasley and Lance Stevenson take on Nancy Lieberman's Dallas Power. Who will make it to the Big Three Championship? The no-holds-barred action starts Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific, only on CBS.